Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is your boy Freeze hanging out in the Deceptive Lab. And today I want to talk about a little bit different of a topic. And that topic is going to be player burnout. And honestly, just working on a little bit better QOL for the players. And I'll actually flip over to the official Transformers Earth Wars Discord server because what I want to show you is why I chose this topic. And it stems from this middle post from Dale. This is basically saying that hey, they want to explore Burnout a little bit more. There's going to be a survey coming soon, and he's going to be working with playtesters, Alliance Council, and just different groups to try to put together a quality survey. But to start out, they're saying that next week they're going to have no midweek raid, and it's going to be occur over the weekend instead. And so when I first read this, I was looking at it and I said, huh? Like, I don't think that that's the direction we need to go in for the raid. I actually think it's going to worsen the problem, but I'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. But yeah, so basically what I came up with a list of 5 things that I actually think that will help with the burnout issues and player QOL. And so I'm just going to go ahead and get into it with my very first reason, which is Space Ape is very stingy when it comes to Z Energon. Now, here's my issue. Z Energon gets used for a lot of things. You use it for ability 11s, you use it for level 61s, you use it for upgrading your base. Like, you know, they started doing that in HQ 17. HQ 18 is on the way. So I imagine it's going to cost a lot more in resources in order to just build your base. And so now optionally you can use your Z Energon for XP, but regardless, it's a constant grind for Z Energon. I mean, elimination mode, Space Ape did throw us a little bit of a bone there and made elimination mode last all week long. However, the problem is still that elimination mode, 3 of those days are typically going to be your event days. Now there's some exceptions. This week there's an individual event that's only supposed to be for 10k. Alright, yeah, I probably can grind a couple of Z battles on Saturday, Sunday, you know, no problem. But you know, essentially you're gaining maybe like an extra day a week, really, with how long the events are. It's particularly like even if it's like a 1 mil event, you know, you do that free to play. I mean, that's going to take you at least, usually take me at least by day 2, you know, to complete it. So I don't like there's so many rules for how you get Z Energon. You know, you go into elimination mode, you can't use the Titan. The combiner doesn't do any damage on HQ, which I get it. You want us to use bots, and I think that forces you to use bots a little bit, so that's good. But at the same time, you know, I think it gets a little bit too restrictive compared to your normal gameplay when you're farming normally. So yeah, and the other thing I don't get is when you go, and I'm gonna go flip over to the game screen again for a second. I feel like when you look at the amount of Z Energon that you can carry, you can only carry 3 million of it anyway. So I feel like the safeguard that you need to be in place is already in place in regards to Z Energon. So I don't feel like you have to be as restrictive as Space Ape has been in regards to the Zen. Alright, so that's my first one. My second one is we need to make a legit Ore-13 cooldown. And so what I mean by that is, and I'm gonna go back to my game screen. So when I'm dealing with my combiners, you actually, and I gotta see, I don't have one on cooldown right this second, I don't believe. But when you do, one of the things that you're gonna be looking at is you're gonna have that 12-hour cooldown. And honestly, for me, that's a little bit problematic, and I've made this suggestion several times. But most things, when they cool down in this game, is kind of proportional. So, for example, if I go in there and I'll run a battle right now. If I go run a battle and I go use a bot, and that bot goes in the cooldown, it costs me less coins. And you know, coins you gotta usually either get through some type of reward, or you get just from spending. And so this costs you actual money to go and get a bot and keep them and get them out of cooldown. And we still make it so that when that bot starts to come down in time, so say like I'll run Impactor real quick. Impactor, I think it's gonna take me about an hour for him to cool down when he's used. And when he is used, you know, gradually over time, that cooldown cost comes down. And that's not the case with combiners. Combiners, if I got a combiner on cooldown for 12 hours, at 11:55, it still costs me 25 ore to reuse them. Now here's the issue. Now when you talk to Space Ape, I think it was Ionist that was saying that, oh, well, you get plenty of combiners to choose from. You don't have to keep using the same combiner. That's your choice to use the same combiner. If you want to use the same combiner, then just go into the Shanix store, use more Shanix. He said that on the last stream. He said that on several Space Ape streams, to be honest. And the issue that I have with that is, if you've been watching my combiner series, most of these combiners aren't that good, man. Like, most of the combiners are not going to be usable in higher level wars, and that becomes a problem because now you end up using the usually the same couple of combiners. Most people are going to use Overlord or Mega Supreme. You know, you might go use Abominus if you don't have them in your outpost. Not Abominus, yeah. No, a lot of people will use Lio Kaiser if they're not in your outpost, is what I meant to say. It's becomes a little bit more difficult to manage. Now in this case, I'm gonna go back to my teams, and when you look at cooldown, you can see, all right, so I gotta wait on these guys for about an hour, but each minute that passes, you know, it's the time's gonna go down a little bit. It's gonna cost me a little bit less. So every minute or two, you know, it's gonna cost me a little bit less. So I feel like the same thing should apply to combiners that applies to other aspects of the game, like bot cooldowns. So I'd say if it's gonna be 12 hours, maybe you could have to use one less of your Ore-13 per combiner, and I think that would be okay. That said, I think some of the combiners are probably going to get better. You know, they just made that announcement about Galvatronus coming to the game. I mean, hopefully it's pretty good. Hopefully that's something that's Prime League ready. As you guys could see, I was building up, and I talked to you guys about this when I made my video about when I was talking about Tripredicus. But yeah, I mean, I could use him maybe like a B1, maybe a B2, and most Prime League bases. But most of the time, when I'm trying to make sure that I get that 300 or the highest possible score that I can get, then I'm probably going to wind up using Overlord, and I'm probably going to have to use him on more than one base. And I think that's kind of messed up, considering that a lot of the previous combiners, you know, the game has passed them by. And I've said it a couple of times. Definitely said it on my combiner series video. The game passes these guys by quite often. Like, and I want to go take a look at just the different combiners that I get in there. So that's Tripredicus. And that actually brings me up to another good point, speaking of Tripredicus. So there's a couple of flaws that we have with this combiner system. First off, you got to get all of the bots. And this one was easier because there's only 3 bots to get. But then once you finally get the bots, then you got to go spend all this time upgrading. And so for me, the upgrade right now, I've been upgrading this guy to get him, just to get him to level 10, and he's already been upgrading for about 4 days. That's a lot for the lower level, so I think that needs to be managed a little bit better. Maybe at the lower levels, maybe it could gradually increase, kind of like it does for bots. And the length of time that you need to complete that upgrade. But to have like 7 days for me to get to level 10, and I still got 10 more levels to go, honestly, I find that to be ridiculous. And the fact that one of the first things that we asked for when Cyberpass first started, lots of people started asking for a combiner skip. And now, this past Space Ape stream, the apes are saying that they possibly will be a combiner skip. And it's good. It's about time. I think we're about to head into like the 6th Cyberpass, I believe. It's the 5th or the 6th. And yeah, it's well overdue because it just takes way too long to upgrade a combiner. The other thing is, a lot of these combiners just flat out aren't usable. And the top levels, you know, you get a couple of 3 stars in there. I got a couple of 4 stars. I mean, most people say that, you know, Bruticus isn't good. I use them on defense. I don't use them on offense. Predaking and Devastator, we talked about. Devastator, I can't actually use on some of the earlier bases because of the high attack power. But a lot of people don't even use him. And I think that the issue is, for as long as it takes you to go get to all 20 levels of a combiner, the game kind of passes them by. New content comes out that's much better and actually usable in those appropriate war leagues. I think that we got combiners that were good for the time period when they were first created, but then after you take like a year or two to get them together and get them built all the way up to 20, by then they're probably not even good anymore. And so I think that's a failure on the part of Space Ape, in addition to the Ore-13 problem. Now, some of the responses to Space Ape has for this stuff, like one of the things that I've heard from them commonly is that, well, I know players that have plenty of combiner spark, and I was like, yeah, but it depends on who you ask. If you ask like the super elite, yeah, they got millions of everything, but then there's all the rest of the players in the game that are just struggling to get combiners, to get them leveled up, to get them usable in their level wars. And I just think that I just feel like you have to make sure you're asking the correct audience when you talk about these things. Alright, so the third thing I was going to talk about is there's got to be a change to Titan Assault, man. Like the Titan Assault mode, one of the things that adds to this game's grind is that Titan Assault mode. I mean, and honestly, this thing's pretty awful. I'm actually going to run one now while I talk to you guys. And like I did 1 Titan Assault so far. And the thing is, it doesn't take any effort really, but it's the fact that you got to sit in here. It takes more effort to sit here and monitor it than anything else, because like right now, I'm just going to drop this Titan, drop Triptychon down, and I'm just going to kick back and just watch while I talk to you guys. It's like I don't have to run any special abilities on these bases. It's very boring. And now Space Ape is saying that there's going to be a second Titan that you're going to have to manage, and you're going to have to manage him in a separate Titan Assault just for that particular Titan. That's crazy to me, bro. Like this particular game mode, it's not good. It's not fun. There's nothing appealing about it. There's never been anything appealing about it. I never wanted to play Titan Assault at any point in time. But the thing is like, for me personally, and I'll share the story, back in March, I went to the NCAA tournament with some of my friends, and you know, obviously we're having a really good time, And this was one of those things where, I forgot to play my Titan Assault, and then here it is, like, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, I start trying to play it, and I ran out of time, and so I've always been 1 week behind when it comes to the Titan Assault mode because I missed that week. And so it becomes very costly to you as a player to miss out on this. But I mean, like, as you watch this in the background, it's nothing fun about it. It's just not worth the time. That's one of those things we can take out, as opposed to trying to move the raid events or something like that. Now, I do believe that you got to work to upgrade your Titan somehow. Maybe it could be kind of how the tech tree works, where you just got to actually play the game. But I don't think that we need Titan Assault in its current setting to be set up for us to, as an additional game mode. It's just adding additional stuff for you to do throughout the week. Alright, so the next thing that I was going to look at, the fourth thing, was you got to change the event structure a little bit. And so this past weekend, one of the things that we actually saw was, we saw just that. We saw a change in the way that leaderboards work. And honestly, I enjoyed the way that played out. I do think that it needs some minor tweaks. I think that the cost that it takes to get the bots are a little bit too high. And I was talking with a bunch of people. I was talking to some play testers. I was talking with other players. And so we went from a leaderboard where the last time they had a leaderboard, they had teams scoring upwards of 8 million points as an alliance just to try to go get the 5-star bots that they're offering now. And that's a lot. And even Space Ape had to recognize, they say, man, we don't want that. We don't want guys to have to fight like that and grind like that just to get a 5-star bot. So they made it, we asked for a 3 million point event. We wound up getting a 3.5 million point event. And I think that 3 million is more reasonable because it is a 5-star bot. I do think you gotta work hard for it. But I think 3.5 is a little bit too high. And for the 5-star, 2 million, I mean, I went for the 4-star, 2 million is a little bit too high. I bring it to 1.5. That'll bring it closer to most normal in the Saga events for players. And like, I went for it this weekend, and honestly, by the time Sunday rolled around, and I was probably like 40,000 or so on Saturday. Got a little bit tiring. I mean, I've done 50K several times before, more than even. But it's just like, most players that are capable of scoring 50K in one event like that don't need a 4-star. And that's really my bigger argument for it, is like, they're probably players that, hey, you got to push a little bit harder than normal. And I think a lot of those players are capable of completing 1 million point events, and then you get them to put in a little bit extra to go do the 1.5, and I think that's more appropriate. But either way, there's always a lot of ongoing discussion. The Alliance Council's always talking about making events a little bit shorter in the mid-saga. Personally, I don't necessarily agree that we need to get rid of the 1 million point event. I get it. It's for some Alliance and Alliance families, that's going to be difficult. It's going to be a little bit of a grind, but at the end of the day, it is one of those things that you can complete free to play with the correct tactics in terms of your event team setup and making sure that you get everything knocked out. So, but a lot of people seem to think the sweet spot is around 750K. I think that might be a little. I'd be okay with that. I think that's reasonable. If that's what the community decides that they want. But I will tell you this, with a lot of these issues, I always tell Space Ape they should probably ask the Alliance Council, because that's going to be a better representation of the player community as a whole, as opposed to asking, we got some really, really good players in the playtest community, And honestly, like, I don't want to get where we're speaking for, you know, the low levels, the mid levels, and stuff like that, because obviously our situations are completely different, and I like to take that in consideration when you get different viewpoints from different alliances and alliance families. Alright, and the last one that I want to talk about today is takeaway cooldown for raid bots. And what I mean by that, and I actually probably didn't even word it as well as I wanted to on the survey, but I'm gonna show you a suggestion that I made earlier, and I'll kind of talk my way through it. So let's see, let me find it first. Alright, here I am. So if you guys don't mind, I would really like for folks to kind of go to, if you're on the official Transformers Earth Wars Discord, as you can see, my suggestions already gaining steam. I got 47 votes right now, but I want to take away cooldown for the midweek raid events, and here's the reason why. They take away bots that you could be using for all your other stuff. So I'll tell you right now, I got my raid going on right now, and I'm gonna go hit the raid here in a little bit. I got wars and stuff that I want to do. I got regular farming, especially when HQ18 starts back up. I'm gonna have regular farming. You know, your Titan tech tree is gonna require you to do some battles. Now, granted, you can take your time and do those just through the wars, and so that's how I've been managing mines. I hadn't been farming as much, but it is going to become a point in time where I absolutely have to farm, because I'm going to need the resources in order to upgrade my base. Now, granted, I've stockpiled some stuff. Eventually, that's going to run out, and one of the things that I was thinking about when I start using all those skips in order to upgrade my base, I'm going to need resources 2 times, pretty much right away, because I'm going to upgrade something, I'm going to skip it, then I'm going to upgrade something else, and I'm going to need resources for it. So eventually my resources are probably going to run out. This individual weekend, this week, is going to be a good opportunity to get, I believe it was like 20 mil for each alloy and energon, so that'll be good. I'll be holding on to that. But that still doesn't change the fact that there is a problem there in regards to the cooldown. Now, I will say this: when this game mode first came out, and I actually looked this up. Let me see if I can find it and find the exact date, because when I looked this up on the wiki to see when the raid battles first started, I want to say they first started around 2018, around the end of 2018. And one of the issues that we're having is that during that time period, the game has changed since then. During that particular time period, all they had was wars, raids, and events. Events are obviously on the weekends. Now, when I was in the first time I took command of an alliance, I had like a kind of like a little mid-tier alliance, so like a little HQ 8 and up alliance. But they hit the events pretty hard, and we warred regularly, trying to get them ready for wars at the next levels. And what I did is I used to stagger those events a little bit. Yeah, we actually used to stagger them out quite a bit. So I would start around my time every day at noon for the wars, and that gave them that entire morning or evening, depending on what time zone they were in, and that allowed them time to do both throughout the day. Like Tuesdays and Wednesdays, we were just hammering away at those raids and those wars. And so it's one of those things, it can be managed, but it also can be difficult, because now I have certain bots, and I'm gonna actually pull up the game screen, and I'm gonna pull up the team that I typically use in raid. And I actually got one of them in the cooker right now, because I got my cyber Cybertron Starscream in the cooker. But well, one of the guys I use right now is Impactor. And when you go look at my first team, Impactor's on that war team. So I use him in raids. I gotta pick one or the other during that cooldown time. Honestly, man, that's annoying. That means I'm gonna have to come back into the game later on, or I'm gonna have to coin. Now, I'm not gonna coin anybody just to participate in raid. So a lot of times it winds up taking a lot longer. Granted, you've got 2 days to do it, but then there's times where you have things like the Cyber Pass has the 50k requirement, and a lot of people just rush out to do it, so you wind up taking longer to do it, and it just it honestly, to me, it's a complete mess. So I think that we don't need cooldowns anymore, because we got more game modes. You got bots that are doing dispatch missions. You got bots that need to go to war, need to go Z farm, need to go Titan Tech tree farm, and all these things. I think it's time to just kind of like elimination mode is its own thing. I think the raid, that needs to be its own thing in regards to cooldown, and then the bots can just still be used for wars, farming, so on and so forth. So, but what do you guys think? I'm really curious to see what contributes to, if any of you are burnt out, what contributes to that. So like I said, go ahead and leave a comment, and if you're not on my Discord, you can leave comments there, or if you're not on my Discord, then there's a link for it in my bio, and there's also a link for it in each of my videos, so you can join the conversation there. But other than that, I'm gonna go ahead and take off, and I'm gonna be making a live stream tomorrow. I still hadn't decided what I'm gonna talk about yet, but I'm gonna get that organized today. So hopefully I will see you all for that. It'll be at 7 Eastern time. I believe that's 10 UTC, 11 UTC. So yeah, but for all you guys that are on my Discord, I'll actually send out, I'll ping you to let you know when I'm getting set up for that. But other than that, I'll see you hopefully tomorrow on the live stream, and I will see you guys on the battlefield. Freezius out.